Oasis Audio presents Woman in the Moon by Thea von Harbou, read for you by Romy Nordlinger. Chapter 1. It was by a purely reflex movement that Wolf Helios held out his arms and caught the hurtling body. He had an indistinct impression that a cataclysm of nature was happening before his eyes, and reacted to it with that rapidity in which decision and action seemed simultaneous. For a second, a dim yellow-brown face was close to his, the stumbling and bouncing of a man who came flying down the steep, narrow staircase, a murmured word of thanks for the rescue from a broken neck, a remarkably graceful and easy sliding away, and on top of it all, high up at the head of the stairs, Manfeldt's gigantic shadow and storm of oaths.
"Why didn't you let the fellow kill himself?"
roared the old man in a voice that rang out like the cry of a devil in the narrow staircase. In his bewilderment, Helios did not answer, but stood listening to the dying footsteps. The man was fled on noiseless feet. Down below the house door banged. "Who was it?" Helios asked, disconcerted. The storm in Manfeld subsided as its visible cause disappeared.
"Come upstairs,"
he answered peevishly, and there was in his voice a note of tenderness that poverty, loneliness, and bitter hatred of mankind had nearly broken. His fingers, always either burning or ice-cold, telling of fever, slipped as they always did, as if seeking refuge into Helios's firm grasp, while his unguarded glance studied the younger man's face. This Helios noticed, and the glance cut through him like a hot blade, for he had come empty-handed. So entirely, so completely had he been engrossed in his own affairs, that he had for the first time forgotten the pitiful comfort of the old man's pitiful existence. Something to eat, to drink, to smoke, that his affectionate artfulness always managed to smuggle into the old man's room. He was ashamed of himself, and in his pity cast about for a hasty excuse. "I don't come today as your guest, Professor," he said. "I come to ask you to spend the evening somewhere with me. The evening of this unique day, Professor." Manfeld looked at him with blinking eyes. The always alert instinct of the very poor man smelt a rat.
"What's up?"
he asked gruffly, drawing back his hand.
"What's wrong with your calendar, Helios? So far as I know, no god has been born today, and no god crucified. And also there has been no gossip about the Holy Ghost."
"It's full moon tonight, Professor."
"I know it is. I shall crouch on the roof tonight, like an old tomcat, and sing drunken hymns to His Highness the Moon like Latte."
"And I have decided to undertake the voyage to the moon."
"Ah."
The old man's voice sounded like the voice of one who has held his breath to bursting point, and then let the air gush out of his lungs. He repeated softly and slowly. His face changed. Inexpressible emotion surged up from the depths of his mind, and he seemed held by an intoxication of ecstasy, until his drawn and wasted features looked as if transfigured. His eyes fixed themselves on those of the man standing before him in the dusk of the entry. He seemed to look not so much at him as through him, and his hands, groping for Helios's shoulders, groped blindly in the air. Helios caught him and held him tight. "That is why I wanted to ask you to come out with me," he said hoarsely. Manfeld shook his head vehemently and drew away.
"Be quiet," he said in a toneless voice. "For God's sake, be quiet."
Stumbling backwards, he dragged Helios over the threshold of his attic room, pushed him away from the door, slammed it, and turned the key twice.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?